bad. The mic is on mute. Let's finish what we was watching yesterday. It's about astral planing. Alright? Let's see what it's talking about.
An astral component containing the memory or history of that object. We can go over that in a bit, but for the most part, I want to emphasize how each plane is somewhat a product of the one before it. That is very important as it goes back to my point on how magic only works with this occult cosmology. Otherwise, without the theory, one cannot properly perform this art to his advantage. Belief and perspective of reality do have an effect on magic. The more open-minded one is, the more results they will experience in these occult arts. The physical plane is a product of the etheric, which then is a product of the astral, which then is a product of the mental planes, which then is a product of the Godhead. You can make physical changes on the physical plane by manipulating the etheric. You can make changes in the etheric realm by manipulating the astral. And by manipulating the higher planes, you have access to manipulating and causing changes on all planes. Let's use a chair for an example. A chair exists in the physical realm as a physical object that you can sit on. Now the astral can be seen as all the possibilities or different types of chairs that could possibly exist. The imagination. Then we have the mental plane of the chair, which is the base archetypal attributes of that object. The blueprint for something to sit on. Then, it merges back with the Godhead. Christians resist this information because they believe it has to do with demons or something. That's not necessarily the case. Yes, this power will reveal things hidden, but that doesn't mean a tool or faculty within itself is evil. Are there evil people using it? Undoubtedly. The only reason more good people aren't using it is because they aren't aware that it exists. The astral realm is a fundamental component to the way our reality functions. We as humans deserve the right to explore our own consciousness and to learn and develop these faculties that have been lost in the modern day. The ability of clairvoyance and astral vision are useful skills and should be practiced as an art or an instrument. But no, the fearful interpret this ability as opening a portal to demon communication. There is demon communication happening whether you realize it or not. Negativity itself can be a demon. These psychic abilities simply show what is hidden beyond the material realm. Are we to conclude that the occult is all but fantasies of a madman? Or that the occult is nothing but demon worshippers? That the ancients were just fanatics? There was a reason that the mystery schools were developed, and it was to hide special abilities of man. If we realized what we are, then each person would have access to a divine power. That power was in conflict with the ruling church, and so it was controlled. They created the religions as it is practiced today. It was based on true ancient spiritual principles from the mystery schools that then had to be accessed through a certain doorway under specific conditions. Heaven is a specific realm on the astral. Hell is a lower realm in the astral. We go through our lives taking in a variety of different beliefs throughout our lifetime, and the ones we hold on to the most, or the beliefs that we focused on the most, is what gets transferred to the astral. Consider this to be in comparison with dreams, as it is the same realm. As people grow older, if they do not keep these skills in check, they begin to lose the ability to recall their dreams. This can be because the astral is a reflection very similar to that of the physical realm they are currently experiencing. They become a part of the matrix, you could say, as they become asleep and follow similar patterns of consciousness. The lack of curiosity of internal sensations is what leads to a stagnant dream life. A child is one who usually experiences the most fantastical dreams, and it's because their bodies are exploring many different planes of consciousness and creating a variety of different imaginative realities. Now, on each of these planes there are different divisions. The grossest, or the lowest vibration of the astral plane is the lower astral. This is where lower vibrational thoughts and negative ideals are created on this level. The ideas of hell or even patterns of the material realm can be reflected onto this lower astral, which is but a reflection of the physical. This is where dreams most of the time take place in the individuals who are asleep in the material plane, meaning they are void of curiosity. The middle astral is where the imagination really takes place in its fullest form. Imaginative dreams, fantasies, and all sorts of endless possibilities take place here. There is a balance between negative and positive forces, and this is where most of our dreams take place. A better way to say this is that we actually are living multiple bodies at once, or multiple lives at once. We have another life on the astral, and as you begin to practice the art of astral projection, the more you will recall about this other life that you have as an astral being. You have learned many things there, This is not just the imagination, but it is the collective unconsciousness that connects all archetypal concepts into a fluid-like reality that can be experienced with great lucidity. Here is one of the major
He's on
first
the
mind
road.
blows for the occultist. You begin exploring your consciousness. You travel the etheric realms locally, and then you travel as far as you can astrally. And at the beginning, this is usually just a representation to what you see in your day-to-day life. So you may astral project and be in your neighborhood or whatnot. But there comes a time once you travel so far outside of the etheric and lower astral planes that you begin to open a door that will open you to something that's actually outside of your consciousness. It's like you're searching as far as you can inside of yourself and you reach a door that actually leads to a universe that exists on its own, without you and with beings that inhabit it that seem to possess more intelligence than that of the conscious viewer themselves. This is what is happening on psychedelics. The shaman or modern psychonaut is shot up into the higher astral, and usually the plant or man-made substance has a consciousness of its own
fucking
that then is
rooftop.
manipulating the experience to assist or punish the user. I've heard of Datura stories where people have experienced shared visuals. These experiences are inner experiences, but they translate outside of ego, which is what makes these experiences so shocking. You basically die and experience higher dimensions of consciousness. It's like the feeling of going back home.
Dying right now.
It's a similar thing with astral projection. Be careful exploring too much, as there is a reason why you are here on the physical plane. This knowledge is of the utmost importance, but one must not devote all their time to astral matters. The true mark of a magician is mastery over the elements or fundamentals of reality. The easiest way to begin to connect with the astral is through meditation and keeping a journal. This will influence dream recall and eventually will lead to lucid
What the
dreaming.
fuck, bro?
Lucid dreams are not technically astral projection because in astral projection, the consciousness must experience all the way throughout, no falling asleep involved. If one was to start writing in a journal their dreams daily, even if nothing, just write nothing, then sooner or later, you will be writing pages. Just keep thinking about it before you go to bed. You can influence lucid dreams in many ways, but this is more of a breakdown on how the astral plane works and how to access it consciously. We have fire, water, air, and earth. Akasha being spirit. Fire and water being higher elements, and air, the distribution between these higher principles, all coalesce into the element earth or gross material. In order to safely project into the astral plane, one must learn to come in contact with these basic principles. It seems silly to one who is coming from the modern worldview, but these elements are an attempt to classify all manifestation into their basic attributes. The homunculus legend of a man created within a jar is a perfect example of occult hidden knowledge. Paracelsus was encoding a secret esoteric teaching, which was how to create another man, or body, in which you can travel into the astral realm. This body is called the body of light. More to be explained. In the oldest book of wisdom, the Tarot, something has already been written about this great mystery of the elements. The first card of this work represents the magician pointing to the knowledge and mastery of the elements. On this first card, the symbols are the sword as the fiery element, the rod as the element of the air, the goblet as that of the water, and the coins as the element of the earth. This proves without any doubt that already in the mysteries of yore, the magicians were destined for the first tarot card, mastery of the elements having been chosen as the first act of initiation.
What? That's
Akasa
cool.
is the so-called quintessence of the four other grossly elements. Each element has two polarities, an active and passive, or positive and negative. The principle of fire. According to the
Principle of
Oriental
fire.
scriptures, the first element born from Akasa is believed to be the element of fire. The basic qualities of the fiery principle are heat and expansion. In the Bible we read, "There shall be light," light coming from fire. Each element has two polarities, thus fire has a good and an evil side. We have fire that can be healing, such as the light from our sun that gives energy and fuel to all living beings. Or the negative, which can be destruction and burning. The principle of water. Water also comes from Akasa. It's the same as fire in that each element has a life-giving principle and a
Right.
destructive dividing principle.
Exactly.
The basic qualities are coldness and shrinkage. Water can also be seen as darkness in contrast to the fire element. Water is required for life to live, but it can be dark, cold, and desolate, such as deep in the ocean. The principle of air. Another element derived from Akasa is that of air. The initiated do not regard this principle as a real element, but they grant it as role of a mediator between the fiery and watery principles, becoming a neutral equilibrium. Through the active and passive elements of fire and water, life has now become animated. When we speak of fire, water, and air, they are not to be regarded as ordinary elements such as physical fire or water in a glass or the air we breathe, but in the case of the elements, they are universal qualities of all elements concerned. They are the basic principles of life: expansion, constriction, electric, magnetic, positive, negative, and balance and animation. The element of earth. It was said that air does not represent a true element, and the same is true for earth. Out of the interaction of the three aforesaid elements, the earthy principle has been born as the last element, which by its specific quality, the solidification, involves all three elements. It is this elemental earthly quality that allows us to put a concrete form on all of the aforesaid elements. The action of the three elements have been limited with the result of space, measure, and weight and time having been born. The reciprocal action of the three elements together with that of the earth, thus, has become tetrapolar, so that the earthy principle may be labeled as a four-pole magnet. This is the subjective becoming objective. The realization this element represents, it shall be. Now, one can then connect to each element and gain the approval of each archangel that resides within the spirit of each element. These fundamentals can be used in magic for creating a second man, or the homunculus, the astral light, in which you can transfer your consciousness to and create a body that not only can be manipulated in first person, but can be assigned its own individual consciousness. This astral light can be used to create a variety of astral forms, but we must wait, in time. There's still much to learn about this delightful plane that is well known to the elite mages but hidden and mysterious to the neophyte. You see, the reason people are experiencing sleep paralysis is because sometimes they use methods that force an astral experience when they're not ready. This forced astral separation can cause a shock to the system, and sometimes the user is not conscious throughout the projection. They are practicing repeating visuals or some type of exercise to influence the third eye, and at one point, they fade out and wake up again once this astral separation is happening. There are many variables, but a good conclusion would be that these are shadows that have yet to be faced, or fears manifesting themselves immediately. I know for a fact that these forms can be changed simply by the power of imagination, but in some individuals, it's so shocking to be out of your body and being faced with mental thought forms face to face. They are very real, but at the same time, they do not have power over you. One way to protect yourself is through ritual. If you're going to learn to project into the astral, then you need to consider yourself a magician.
Every time I spawn.
It seems crazy, right? But only to those who aren't educated in such matters. For once you begin to become disciplined in this art, the magician will learn for himself that there are methods to influencing events on the material. They are practicing repeating visuals or some type of exercise to influence the third eye, and at one point, they fade out and wake up again once this astral separation is happening. There are many variables, but a good conclusion would be that these are shadows that have yet to be faced, or fears manifesting themselves immediately. I know for a fact that these forms can be changed simply by the power of imagination, but in some individuals, it's so shocking to be out of your body and being faced with mental thought forms face to face. They are very real, but at the same time, they do not have power over you. One way to protect yourself is through ritual. If you're going to learn to project into the astral, then you need to consider yourself a magician. It seems crazy, right? But only to those who aren't educated in such matters. For once you begin to become disciplined in this art, the magician will learn for himself that there are methods to influencing events on the material realm simply through an astral magic ritual itself.
Jump down and kill him.
Magic, astral separation,
I should have used the motherfucking parachute. That's the problem.
can cause a shock to the system, and sometimes the user is not conscious throughout the projection. They are practicing repeating visuals or some type of exercise to influence the third eye, and at one point, they fade out and wake up again once this astral separation is happening. There are many variables, but a good conclusion would be that these are shadows that have yet to be faced,
Fucking with his
or
hairline.
fears manifesting themselves immediately. I know for a fact that these forms can be changed simply by the power of imagination, but in some individuals, it's so shocking to be out of your body and being faced with mental thought forms face to face. They are very real, but at the same time, they do not have power over you. One way to protect yourself is through ritual. If you're going to learn to project into the astral, then you need to consider yourself a magician. It seems crazy, right? But only to those who aren't educated in such matters. For once you begin to become disciplined in this art, the magician will learn for himself that there are methods to influencing events on the material realm simply through an astral magic ritual itself. Magic, again, is just a tool. Whether you're aware of it or not, you do astral magic every day. It's not conscious magic, but to think and to do is a process of the higher manifesting into the lower. Your personality, ego, pursuits, and goals are a product of astral magic. But there are many variables to consider in terms of what will work based on your sphere of availability. You can do magic for a car, but is it really in your sphere of availability? Like, are you in a reality where that's even possible? Or if you wanted to be the boss of a big company, could you really hold that position? Eventually you would just get fired or lose the car because A plus B equals C. Have you built up a structure in which your will can manifest in the physical plane? It's not just snapping your fingers and forcing something to happen, which is a common misunderstanding of magic. If you know magic, why don't you just make yourself rich? Is a common response from those who know nothing about magic. That's because just like any science, there are rules and regulations. In order to protect yourself on the astral realm, you need to know how to create a tetrapolar magnet. A magnet that is blessed by sacred angels and constructed upon sacred geometry. This knowledge of the Godhead will keep you protected against any demonic or negative beings that you may encounter. We will cover everything more in detail, but for now, let's continue with a brief summary. What will you encounter in the astral realm? Well, as was said at first, it is like you're exploring a representation of your subconscious or a mirror realm of the reality you experience here. But there are weird alterations or nuances that obviously make it more fantastical, but there comes a point where you enter a doorway, or a realm that seems to be a doorway from within yourself that actually leads to a universe even farther outside of you. Even grander in scale that has its own intelligences and life forms that seem to have their own existence. One of these beings are called shadow beings that linger on the etheric and lower astral planes. These beings could be suppressed fear that has gained intelligence most likely from a host. These are negative astral parasites that are created by us from our emotions and suppressed experiences. They continually feed off negative emotions and become more independent and powerful as they grow in age. The trouble you encounter and the dire things that old maid occultists warn you against all the times in the past when you read about astral projection is really nothing but this difference that exists between the different planes and what happens when you try to act on the inner planes the same way that you act on the earth physical. Let's just say some new age thought practitioner got to the astral plane and it scared the wits out of her. So instead of trying to find out what was wrong, she labeled it as hell and warned everyone to stay away. On the inner planes, you have to act in accordance with the laws that govern that plane, which laws are different than the laws that govern the physical plane. And until you learn these laws and move by them, you're going to find yourself in a very peculiar position when you try to do something. Things manifest instantly in the astral, especially emotion. You can't treat the astral plane as you do the physical world. That's why many run into issues when they first begin to practice. But there are also positive guides. There are intelligences that have been following you your whole life. These are called daemons or genie. They're not all negative, as they are aspects to how we think. We perceive ourselves as a single unit of consciousness, but most of our thoughts and inspirations are not even our own, but a product of these astral intelligences or guardian angels that have helped and guided us along our path here in the physical realm. There are elementals, which are the astral manifestations of the elements themselves in a variety of different forms. Their main forms include the salamander of fire. In the air element they are sylphs. In the water element they are called mermaids or undines. In the element of earth they are gnomes or goblins. These being the connection with the astral plane and the earthly elements. The astral plane is host to the deceased ones who, having left the physical plane, are abiding in the corresponding density degree according to their spiritual maturity, which is designated by various religions as heaven or hell. The adepts only see symbols therein. There are god forms, demons, and powerful archetypal forms. Not recommended for the beginner at all. This might sound crazy, but these experiences are quite real, and honestly the best way to describe it is like a psychedelic experience where a booming voice is kind of overpowering the entire realm itself. If you reach this point, you are very far from home and starting to reach some very far doorways. You don't want to open a door that you can't close, so just keep it simple for now and avoid the subject matter.
Keep it simple,
You aren't
stupid.
likely to just randomly encounter a god or a demon unless you specifically go looking for it. Ancient spirits are an entirely other topic. I wouldn't worry too much about what you will encounter. You just need to ask yourself, does this interest you? If so, there is a reason and you must follow it with genuine curiosity. The clairvoyant eyes must be guarded with great responsibility. We know the Spider-Man quote, "With great power comes great responsibility." Some may say, well, why do I need to go explore the astral plane? I have everything I need with Jesus. Well, that may be so, but it's more than just exploring willy-nilly and flying around. That's great and all, but like I said, I wouldn't fly too far away if I were you. I honestly don't go far at all. You want to stay low-key and build up your abilities, much like an open-world RPG.
Hit by another
Exploring
tank.
long range before you know what you're doing can get you lost. Gaining skills is an art that can benefit your life, like painting. One with clairvoyant eyes or one who has mastered their astral senses have gained proficiency in a talent that takes much skill and creativity.
Painting?
They say Nikola Tesla had photographic memory or whatever, but it's more likely that he knew how to astral project. Not using the techniques that magicians use, such as the body of light, but simply through his natural ability to simply visualize material objects. It's a very useful skill. Imagine being able to spend hours in the dream realm, in the conscious state, researching and developing skills and talents that you don't have time to do in the physical realm. You could consciously project yourself to a library and read. You could develop blueprints and make plans for a house or building.
The blueprint.
Or as the ancient magicians figured out, you can directly manipulate physical events through different rituals on the astral realm. A tool can be used for what one wishes to do with it, and in this case, it can cause changes in consciousness and for the pursuit of higher principles. Developing one's body of light so that when the material body passes, there is a vehicle in which the soul can continue to exist. Otherwise, it is replenished and will be reset, making it difficult to build up soul karma. These skills that you develop now in the astral will transfer to your next life. That is why some people have a natural talent for the occult. It's because in a past life, they dedicated themselves to the art of the magus. Not just in a physical sense, but in that they have developed concrete astral forms that then influence the next life, going back to what I was talking about with daemons and genies. These are other forms of yourself that you've experienced in other realms or planes in which you grew the foundations of consciousness. Have you ever had a dream that made no sense or had no parallels to the physical realm at all? Some feel as if they are aliens to this realm, and what I would say is that you could be from a dimension that is much different than this physical plane. The same concepts of aliens still exist in this cosmology. They are just not seen as beings from other terrestrial planets. And as with magic, these beings can be both good and evil. The coin is not one-sided. Now, in order to continue for your visit to the astral plane, mental discipline is of the utmost importance. No one is perfect in real life, but the idea is that you need to be able to shift from your normal human day-to-day mind into the mind of a magus. This is done throughout exercises that should be practiced as an art or an instrument. Other exercises depend on repetition and subconscious programming, which is indeed magic. One should not do magic in order to go to the astral plane. If you do not possess the ability to focus on one thought for an extended length of time, then once you meet more powerful intelligences on the astral, they will have power over you. Now, before we can even begin to constraining the mind to a single thought, we are faced with the most severe challenge of ignoring the physical body. Keeping a single thought form for more than 10 seconds is almost impossible for the average man with no knowledge of the occult. One simple exercise is to focus on a blue square. There's nothing evil, just test your mental faculties and see how long you can hold a visual in your mind's eye. After 10 seconds or so, different thoughts from different subjects will start to come into mind. Earlier events, randomness, or the shape will refuse to stay still, or the colors will change. It is quite endless, but the goal is simple, and you cannot be persuaded otherwise. Hold the blue shape in mind for as long as possible. A timer will be needed. Start with 10 seconds and slowly rise until you get to 1 minute, and then 10 minutes, and then the final goal is 30 minutes. Now at 30 minutes, an event should occur, and it will be quite noticeable, but you will forget who you are for a moment. You will literally become the symbol you were focusing on. This is the goal experience and will get you ready for the astral realm. In order to even get close to that goal, one must first learn to silence the body before the mind. If you can't find comfort in your meditation, you will never achieve this level of focus as it distracts the mind. Ancient India developed many methods to solve this problem. One must pick an asana or a position of rest, and hold this position throughout the entire experience. Pick an asana that you will stick to and master before trying other positions. Don't go too difficult like trying the lotus position until you are ready. There are mental exercises that can be done in order to silence different parts of the body. This also can be healing as you are directly manipulating your etheric body with your astral senses. Imagine a golden ball of light as it begins to travel around your body. Just vocally state in your mind that body part that you want to fall asleep or where you want the golden ball to travel to. Now it may seem like, okay, I'm just manipulating my imagination or something, but once you've done this enough and you treat it like an art form, meaning it's a skill,
Almost.
it begins to become something else entirely. The skill of one who paints fences compared to a painter who paints beautiful murals are quite different, no? Well, it's the same with visualization. Some possess a greater degree of realism when they visualize, changing the experience entirely. There will come a time where these visuals can cause real-world effects, like in this golden ball exercise. You will begin to feel intense tingling sensations wherever the golden ball is floating. If you do the same with your chakras, you will begin to feel intense vibrational sensations that are distinct and cause a real effect to the consciousness. Chakra meditation will lead to more frequent lucid dreams and OBEs, but again, these things must be taken one step at a time. Through mantra, one can assist the process of silencing the mind. You can use some famous mantra like Om, or you can literally just make one. Create some type of symbol or word that you want to focus on and turn it into a mantra. Scramble it and create a simplified version. So maybe you want to focus on silencing the mind. Then simplify it as silence, and you can meditate on repeating the word silence. This will kind of create a firewall where now the thoughts have a hard time distracting you because you're already in focus on a single point, the mantra. Some may say, well, how does this apply to me? Well, the occult arts aren't for everyone, but many are interested, and in the modern age it seems that the subject matter is being lost in a new cosmology. The so-called truth community is worried about such fearful matters such as cataclysm, controllers, and parasites, when really we are what contain the power. They control us through these astral methods that I've been discussing, yet many are being controlled simply by giving them that fear. Many want to escape the matrix, and that's great, but how's one going to do that with no money and no power? We all possess the ability to create the life we envision, and it has nothing to do with just asking for material desires through magic. This art form develops the mind in a way that you become in line with the universe, and you could say, become an attractor, or your luck factor goes up. The universe is giving you a helping hand in creating the reality you wish to experience. We all should know by now the powers of creative visualization and attracting material experiences into our lives. This is the New Age revival known as The Secret, which actually really is just a secret distorted as much as it possibly could be. The secret is that mind and reality are integrated. That's why it applies to you. I'm showing you a way to go about this process consciously and with respect, instead of letting external forces rule you. Okay, you're a Christian? Well, the whole Bible is based on the esoteric doctrine. It comes from the tarot. Even the Gnostics were great mystics developed in these basic faculties of mind. There's nothing wrong with strengthening your mind, intellect, and creating a reality that you wish to experience here on the physical realm. Instead of praying to a god for something you need in life, which is magic, why not develop the skills and opportunities that you need yourself using your conscious magic? You're either suffering at the magic of others or the fact that you're ignorant of your own magic. It's a tool, and unfortunately many abuse it, but it is a fundamental art and ancient in its origin, and we must continue to revive its essence to the best of our ability. Now we will assume that you have mastered thought discipline, trained with each element individually, and have achieved deep states of meditation. We will begin with the protection ritual, as it is a great insight into what this experience entails, and how you can protect yourself from the magic of others. Begin with understanding the shape of the pentagram. It is not an evil shape. It is a sacred shape, for it is the quintessence. It is all the elements represented as a whole, and the symbol has been distorted and misused in the modern day. It does not mean Satanism. When the pentagram is facing down, it means all the gross elements are somewhat above Akasa or spirit. But when facing up, in its correct form, it represents the true distribution, which is Akasa on top and the grossly elements below. Before we learn about the ritual, you must understand what I mean by drawing the pentagram. In the ritual, depending on how you draw the pentagram determines what you are trying to achieve. Are you attempting to invoke a spirit or bring it down to you? Or do you want to banish our ability? Now we will assume that you have mastered thought discipline, trained with each element individually, and have achieved deep states of meditation. We will begin with the protection ritual, as it is a great insight into what this experience entails, and how you can protect yourself from the magic of others. Begin with understanding the shape of the pentagram. It is not an evil shape. It is a sacred shape, for it is the quintessence. It is all the elements represented as a whole, and the symbol has been distorted and misused in the modern day. It does not mean Satanism. When the pentagram is facing down, it means all the gross elements are somewhat above Akasa or spirit. But when facing up, in its correct form, it represents the true distribution, which is Akasa on top and the grossly elements below. Before we learn about the ritual, you must understand what I mean by drawing the pentagram. In the ritual, depending on how you draw the pentagram determines what you are trying to achieve. Are you attempting to invoke a spirit or bring it down to you? Or do you want to banish a spirit? What you will do is with your physical body, you will perform this basic ritual. Start from your left hip, go above your head, continue to the right hip, move to outside your left shoulder, draw a cross beyond your right shoulder, finish where you began. When you do these motions, use a magical dagger specifically designed for this purpose. You must be able to see a bright blue flame that has electrical energy with extreme visual detail, and you must be able to hold this vision entirely with no breaks or distortions. This is why the basic exercises of thought control were explained at the beginning of the video. Okay, so let's take a break here. I originally recorded this entire series as a single video, but during the editing process, I decided that
He decided that he was gonna make it its own video. Got it. Dig that. Damn. Okay, we did it then. Hold on. Fuck. Almost. Damn, bro. Looking for this shit I was watching last night. Can't find it now, though.
Wait, so one question, bringing it back to the whole like approaching thing, right? So you said that you don't like it when men approach you when you're out partying or whatever. Just the other
Can be
girls
very,
here.
very nagging.
Other girls here at the table, like if you're at the bar, let's assume you're single, you're at the bar, like do you generally dislike it when men approach you in these environments? Just here, we'll go around the table really quick answer.
I don't drink as well.
Oh, okay.
Can you repeat the
I don't
question?
drink
Do
as
you like
much.
when men
The
approach you?
question I
Yeah, of
just
course.
asked.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yes.
So you like it or you like it when men approach you? Or you dislike it when men approach you?
I like it.
You like it, okay. You like
I
it?
like it.
If it's in a tasteful manner.
Sure. Billy.
I mean, I never put myself in a situation when I was I never put myself in a situation when I was single to have a guy approach me in a bar or a club because I just didn't go to them.
Damn.
So I would get approached at a grocery store, and if it was done in the right way, then that's fine with me.
Okay, so some different answers there. I feel like a lot of women though who might complain about all these men, it's so annoying, they
I
approach
think it's
me.
the surroundings. You're gonna find.
Well, this is in response to everybody, but not just you, but go ahead.
I think you're going to find if you're in a club, you're most likely going to get a drunk man approaching you, and it's probably not going to be
Yeah,
done in the most
absolutely.
tasteful manner. So that's probably why a lot of girls are turned off by it, because that's where they're being approached most.
You are most likely to have success picking up a girl if you pick her up in a way where her anxiety is low. That is like, can we all agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. That's why I always encourage guys to utilize.
Damn,
dating
got 'em all.
as it's known. Like I tell guys, hey, do you have a dog? Pick girls up at the dog park. It's a great place. Coffee shops. Like, hey, do you know the Wi-Fi password? Easy conversation starter. Little things like that. But I want to just bring this back a little bit to what you were saying, because you're like, when you go out, you don't like when guys approach you. And then I asked you, how do you want guys to approach you? So whenever you're out and I mean, basically, the only time that a guy can approach you is when you're out of the house, right? Like, unless he breaks in and is like dating you, right?
Unless he breaks in.
So,
Another problem when I run
so like, what's your ideal scenario? Because I mean, it's probably not approaching you at work either. You're busy. So, like, what's your ideal scenario?
That's why I will agree that it is, in that sense, it's not really I'm not making it easy for men in that way.
Right.
Maybe that's why I don't know, it's just, it is hard to be tastefully done. It is a
It's
tricky
hard
thing
to
to
be
do. It
tastefully
does
done.
help when you're more attractive, but there's even been attractive men who approach me and I'm still like, I'm just not in the mood to discuss or talk. So I can't really give a clear answer for that. I guess it's because kind of like how I grew up, and I feel like a lot of people grew up before this social media, and like we have so many options nowadays, is you dated people who you already knew. So it wasn't about approaching. It was about, we have similar friends, we come from the same area, so we've met before. So it's not really like it's not like I'm meeting you for the first time, you see me, I'm attracted to you, you come up across to me and you pitch to me. 9 times out of 10, I'm not gonna like that. So that's why usually it was dating people from knowing their family, growing up around them.
Yeah.
Stuff like
I don't want this to come across like I'm attacking. I promise you I'm not. Like, so what you're talking about right now is one of the biggest frustrations for men in dating.
I know.
You posed, again, another Q&A. You asked guys, what are
Holy
your
shit.
biggest fears approaching women?
That was
what were the
tight.
predominant things that came back?
I mean, it was just rejection, judgment on his appearance.
Creepy.
Yeah.
Well, that's one
Like-
thing I could say though, and I will. If a man comes up to me, I'm never like, "Ew, get away from me! I'm not gonna talk to you." I will,
Some girls are.
I-
Yeah.
yeah.
I never said they weren't.
Right.
I'm saying we're talking about me though, personally. Even though I don't like for men to approach me, I've never once been like, ew, get away from me, or been
That's
rude or of the
cap.
sort. If I'm in a relationship, I'll just quickly be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Kind of see where you're going with this. I am in a relationship. Or when I was single, I would be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm not interested in dating right now. Or I would just lie and say I am in a relationship. Make it really sweet, short, nothing. I would never attack them though. That's two different things.
So you're saying that it's like nagging, it's annoying. Would you also agree though that it's necessary?
I do see how they have to. Yeah,
Necessary.
they have to shoot their
Right.
shot. They have to get out there in some form. So I'm not saying. That's why I have not said, don't do it. I haven't advocated for men to not approach women.
Yeah.
I'm just saying personally, I don't like it.
Because right now they're hearing you and like look by all I
But
know,
they're hearing me. But every single, I think only Maddie is the only one
Yeah.
who said that
I
they
will
don't
say,
like
I
it.
feel like-
they all said they like it.
Right.
Like
It's a
setting
personal
matters.
problem.
Say like you're in a club, like Billy said, like mostly it's gonna be drunk men that are approaching you. I don't necessarily like being in like, okay, well I'm like 18, but like if I were in a bar,
Damn. They going crazy. It's the weekend. Super sweats is on. I'm a casual, bro. Do these kids get any sleep or what? Oh yeah, this is CGI from what movie? Mankind, For All Mankind.
Objective set. Hold this sector as long as you can.
Damn. I didn't know it was two up there.
Ready for action! They forced us off Bravo 1. Ready to take. Call in the support. Bravo 1 has fallen to the enemy.
Enemies attacking Bravo 2.
Grenade deployed. Hostile coach. Mark. 60 meters from my position.
Damn. Got killed. Damn, I didn't see him right there. I ran up on him and didn't even see him. That's crazy. That was close. Damn! Going down, low key. Sheesh.
Is it true that most women say they want a man to protect and provide?
Yes.
Yes.
I would say yes.
Yes, that is very true.
Yeah, 100%. You want to feel comfortable with your lover. You want to make sure that they can protect you.
What if I told you the idea of men protecting and providing is a social construct reinforced by the patriarchy?
It's probably true.
I definitely see that standpoint, but I also think it goes back into our primitive instincts, right? Like hunters and gatherers. So the more dainty, not as muscular build
Feminine.
people, which typically are women, were the gatherers and stayed at home, and the men went out and they hunted. So I think that's kind of how that whole social construct began. It's kind of in our DNA. It's almost primitive.
If patriarchy is bad, why do women still expect that from men?
Is patriarchy bad, or are feminists just telling us it's bad?
I don't believe the patriarchy is a thing. I believe the matriarchy is a thing. We live in a Western world where women are the biggest voting bloc. Women are the biggest spending bloc. Women have a majority of the debt, and women raise the next generation. That is the exact definition of what a matriarchy would be.
It's a tough question
There you
because
go.
I personally am against the patriarchy, but then there's also some social constructs of relationship roles that I'm okay, yeah, I actually do value that traditional kind of standpoint.
Why do women only complain about patriarchy when they are competing with men?
I would never compete with a man.
Because women can't have it all. Even though
Damn, it's
they
going
say that they
down,
can have it all, they cannot have it all.
Why is it when it comes to the job market we must be inclusive, but in the dating market it's purely competition?
Because it's the hottest survive.
I feel like there
to
definitely is
survive.
a lot of double standards in both roles. I feel like it just depends on the relationship per se, because I feel like I have met some men that aren't as masculine or, protecting as others. So I feel like it really just depends on the person as well, but I understand where you're coming from.
There's all this talk about creating a more fair and equitable
him.
society. What determines in life what should be a competition and what should have equal outcomes?
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Equal outcome is laughable. That is not a thing that is possible and achievable, and everything is competition. Everything. Equity is for children and participation trophies, not grown-ass adults.
Why do women want equality in everything except for dating?
I wish I knew, but what's wrong with us?
Oh, they don't even
What's
want
wrong with
equality in everything but dating. Not even close. They don't want to pick up the garbage on the side of the road. They don't want to go die in the draft. They don't want to pay for bills. They don't want to lift heavy stuff. They don't want to squish spiders.
Damn,
They don't want to be
They
treated
don't want to
equal
squish spiders.
for pay when they have to work as many hours, work as late in life, miss as much family functions for their job. And also, if women stopped and left the workplace, the HR department would disappear.
Right.
Do women give all men an equal shot, or do they prefer to choose the best and most qualified?
We prefer to choose the richest.
The same way a man would choose which girl he wants to go after.
Yeah, that's
Dang.
true.
I'm
And it's
dead.
mostly by looks. It's definitely not anything else.
Do women give all men an equal shot, or do they prefer to choose the best and most qualified?
No, the majority of women do not give all men equal shots. Unfortunately, you do have those simple-minded women or those gold diggers that want to reach for the upper echelon. My thing is, instead of chase the bag, help your mate to get the bag.
So
All
why
right.
are women economically socialist
Teamwork make
but
the dream
romantically
work.
capitalist?
I think because they're looking for that catch, that big fish, that's someone that can pay the bills and mortgage and supply them and wine and them and dine them. Not all women, but a majority. If you don't have it, they're not going to talk to you.
Why is it when it comes to the job market, we must be inclusive, but in the dating market, it's purely competition?
Because I think you still want to find the best person for you, and
Doesn't a boss want to find the best employee for his company?
Right.
yeah, and he should.
But they're forced to hire people they don't necessarily want to hire.
Well, and that's not right. I don't necessarily think that you should hire somebody just because they fill a box that of equality. I think you should still be finding the best person for the job.
Since dating is considered a marketplace, how high would women's standards have to be, and how much competition would there have to be before men are willing to decide it's no longer worth it?
Well, I feel like the follow-up question with that to be, do women compete with
Oh, he's
women more, or
underneath.
do men compete with men more?
Women compete with each other for the top 10, 12, 8% of men. The average man that's working the Taco Bell counter, that's working the grocery store register, that's driving the bus, he can no longer get an average woman. Women want that top 10, that top tier, that top echelon man. They want that 8, 9, 10 man, even though they're an adjustable 6 at best.
What do you think about the men who choose to remain bachelors?
It's funny because I probably have that mindset this day and age. I just turned 44 today. Today is my birthday. But when I was in my early 20s, I thought about marriage and settling down. But now it's like the bachelor life is better. You know, people out here getting married and getting divorced a couple months later. So until you find true love and happiness, there's nothing wrong with being a bachelor.
You know, they might wake up
try
one
to
day at
sneak
50
up.
and be completely happy. They might wake up at 50 and be like, I don't have any kids. Like, I'm missing
Aw.
something. And I know that's something you have to figure out through your life.
I want to say, or they've gone through it before, they've been married, got divorced, and they're like, you know what, I'd rather live the bachelor life.
Yeah.
And enjoy my life, you know?
If you've got a little black book of 3, 4, 5, 6 women that you can call, take care of everything you need on that Friday. Maybe you have one that dresses up nice and comes to the company picnic with you. Maybe you've got one that's just down and dirty and shows up in a high heels and a trench coat. Why would you give that up for marriage when you're going to get divorced? She's going to
Right.
take the kids. She's going to take your money. And she's going to destroy you. There is no net benefit today for men to get married.
If sex wasn't a
Damn.
need, wouldn't men boycott these women rather than be forced to simp for them?
Yes, but sex is a need, and it will always be a need, so.
Why do the majority of young women happen to be left-leaning woke liberals?
Because it benefits them to be that way. Conservatism is about personal responsibility and
Damn.
decision making.
They was behind
And
me,
women
too.
culturally avoid responsibility like it's kryptonite. Any excuse to
This
pass
guy
the
is
blame
classic.
off onto anybody else, that's what they do. Women, they just don't want to be accountable. They just want to be victims of the big bad man, of the big bad culture, and they just want to avoid personal responsibility.
Women of today have been kind of seeing in the news what the government is doing to women, and they disagree with that. And so I think we are considered woke liberals because we're like, we disagree with a lot of what the conservative party wants to do to
Exactly, I
women,
guess.
like take away rights, and they want to kind of contain
What
us and
rights?
treat us like we're
kill
lesser
the
than,
baby?
and we don't want things taken away from us. It's
How is liberal women wanting handouts from the government different than conservative women wanting men to take care of them?
A fair exchange. Conservative women want men to take care of them because it's a mutually beneficial, independent relationship where they make a mutual agreement to meet each other's needs, wants, and
So close,
desires.
but yeah, so far.
Whereas those women just living off the tax dollars, there's no mutually beneficial relationship. They're leeching, they're sucking off the tit of the taxpayer, and oftentimes not giving back anywhere near close to the resources they absorb.
If men choose to no longer marry, does that mean these women will look to the government to support them instead?
I don't know. I guess that's a question you'd have to ask them, I suppose,
Yeah.
on who they're going to want to be their sugar daddy. If it's going to be Uncle Sam when they don't have. I don't think people will ever stop getting married, though.
Eventually, the money's going to dry up. It's going to dry up. You can't give every unmarried old cat lady money. There's just not enough money anymore.
Old cat lady.
The government's been taking money with overtaxation, compelled parental responsibility from men as long as they have. And once men stop marrying, stop having children out of wedlock, and if they just pay their child support, all these women,
Right.
when they turn 40, 45, 50, as much as they say now they'll be happy, they're not going to be happy with no family, no husband, no children, and 4 or 5 cats running around.
Are women by nature
This
more
guy's
socialist because they want to be provided for?
Yes, women want everything they can get, every handout, because it's easier and it's what they're used to. I mean, let's be honest, fellas. If we were a 16-year-old woman and we spent 5, 6, 7 years with people giving us everything we wanted just simply for existing, that would be a hard behavior to break. Be a real
Right.
hard behavior to break. That's why when the wall comes, 30, 32, 33, somewhere in that, these women are panicking because they've never had to be responsible, never had to earn really anything. It's been
Damn.
just given to them simply because they're pretty and they look nice, and men will do anything to get the attention of a pretty woman.
Right.
Are they more socialist because women are more collective, hive-minded?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, you have to stick together. I mean, I guess if you feel like you're being held down, then you've got to band together with the other people who are in your corner.
Women will lie to each other in protection of the group, in protection of the subset. Women will lie. You will say Lizzo is a
Women
10
will
when
lie.
Lizzo is not a 10. You will
Lizzo
lie
is
and say,
not a
go
10."
girl, you got that. You should divorce that man when you know you shouldn't. Women will lie to protect each other, to promote each other, to tear each other down, because it's all about
Damn.
feelings above facts.
What's the difference between feminist women
Feelings
shaming men
above
for being
facts, sounds
masculine
about right.
versus traditional women shaming men for not being masculine enough?
A traditional feminist doesn't shame a man for being masculine. They shame men for having toxic masculinity, which is going, yeah, I have to do this and I have to do that because I'm a man, and you can't do this because you're a woman. That's toxic masculinity. Being comfortable in your masculinity is going, yeah,
Toxic
I'm a man
femininity,
and
though.
maybe I
What
work
about
out,
that?
but I work out because I want to be healthy, or I do like looking really jacked, but it's for me. It's not because I have to because I'm a man, And
I think feminist, left-leaning, liberal women do it to tear men down and to talk about how men ain't shit, even though men
This
even though
guy's
men
classic.
tamed the world, created all the luxuries that everybody enjoys, and will
Damn.
keep the infrastructure running. Women want to act like men ain't shit. Those leftist liberal women do. I think the more conservative women, they're doing it kind of as a cross between they don't know how to do it the right way, but almost with the intent to help motivate a man because they don't know a better way.
Can you define minimalism?
Yeah, so my kitchen is minimalistic, and that means there's basically nothing in my kitchen.
Minimalism
She don't cook.
is just having enough to meet all your basic needs and very, very few wants. You don't need a 4-bedroom house. You want it. You don't need the newest, fanciest iPhone. You want it. You don't need that giant SUV. You want it. The reality isn't today you need a cell phone. The reality is almost everybody needs a car. But we go bigger, better because we want, because it's a competition to have the newest, biggest, baddest, best. Also because it flexes and shows to women what we got.
Can a man be a minimalist and still be attractive to most modern women?
If he's minimalistic in the sense that it should be, like thinking of the environment and thinking of the impact, and do I really need this? And am I going to sell this at, like, am I paying quality or am I buying shit and then having to replace it?
Most, no. Very, very, very few women are going to like a man that doesn't have drip. That doesn't have a nice fancy car.
I love it.
Women aren't going to like a guy that lives under the bridge. They're not going to like a guy that rents a room in a basement. They're not going to like a guy that drives a car from 1984 with 250,000 miles on it and eats a foot-long Subway sandwich for dinner every night before playing Madden.
How large is the carbon footprint of keeping most modern Western women happy?
It's basically comparable to Bigfoot's paw print.
27 pairs of shoes, the biggest car, all the nice purses, the makeup, the hair, the nails, the hair products. It's absurd.
Ridiculous.
Are we talking like mainstream women or like me? Because you might assume by my perception that I am a materialistic woman, yet
my perception.
I was a farmer of an organic USDA certified farm for a year, and a hemp farmer for 2 years, and a CBD processor for 2 years.
Why do you rarely see women call out other women for being materialistic?
Maybe women are less judgy.
I feel like I see that all the time.
Damn.
Like everyone talks shit about the Kardashians.
Because all women are materialistic.
Right.
Since dating is considered a marketplace, how high would women's standards have to be, and how much competition would there have to be before men are willing to decide it's no longer worth it?
For it to no longer be worth it to date a woman?
I don't think that will ever happen because men love women way too much.
Right.
Speaking from a man point of view, I'm gonna say it's always worth it. Like,
why?
Because to me anyway, that's my only option is a woman. So it's like I'm gonna do what I need to do to keep one around. You know what I'm saying?
The standards would have to get ridiculously high for them to turn away from women entirely. But I do think if they got that high, there is a possibility of it because, nature will always find a way. I mean, look at prison populations where men become gay when they can't get access to women. Like, your sex drive is your sex drive. You're going to find an outlet one way or another.
Well, in that case, I'm going to holler at y'all later. I got some other shit I got to do, but peace. You know what I'm saying? Talk to y'all in a minute.